Hello and welcome to another AutoTalk Weekly Wrap. Sorry, we're a few minutes late, had a few little technical issues there, but we have a really exciting show today because we can finally talk in full about the AutoTalk live event, which we've been teasing for you guys for ages. Sorry for the terrible lighting and sound in here. I'm on the road today. But it is what it is. Don't let perfect get in the way of good enough. And now joining me today is Matthew Henson. How are you, Matthew?
I'm good. I'm here and you're here. I thought Graham was going to be here too.
He's getting. Ta-da! Still can't see him. This gag was way better in our head.
I'm bringing coffee.
We rehearsed that so many times too. I can't believe it.
I was actually genuinely bringing coffee, so
yeah. Look, that's fine. So Matthew, you get relegated to the little window, and Graham and I can be here up in full view. But that's okay. So now, hello to anyone who's watching. We have got a couple watching today. Don't forget to comment if you are watching. We do love that. And tell all your co-workers about it so that you can all do it and all skive off and watch this rather than doing any real work. Now, we get to talk about AutoTalk Live now. So, AutoTalk Live, you're going to get the AutoTalk magazine that's coming out today. That's got a lot more in it than this. But we're going to cover off a lot of what's happening today. Now, a little bit of background. We've talked about AutoTalk Live for a long time, but COVID kept on pushing it back, and we finally got it off the ground, and we decided no matter what, we're going forward. We yol on it with no cancellation policy on this one. It's never getting cancelled or just get postponed if we have another lockdown, which we won't. We won't. Knock on wood. So, November 11, write that in your diaries right now. Catalina Bay, Hobsonville is where we're going to hold it. And you're wondering why would you go for a big event like this out in the suburbs? Well, this isn't really just the suburbs. We wanted something that was going to be a great location for what we are dubbing the perfect dealers, the ultimate dealers day out. So this is not just a conference. It's networking and all sorts of stuff. It's going to be awesome. So the Little Creatures Brewery, fantastic location. I highly recommend you go there for lunch if you haven't already. We are going to hopefully have 300 dealers there. That's our target. And I think we're going to get pretty close to those numbers, alongside ancillary people from the industry. The day starts in the morning. We're still fine-tuning it, 8:30, 9 o'clock, with a bit of a business breakfast and speaker then, and we move through the day. We've got some amazing speakers lined up, starting with Dale McCauley from Deloitte Motor Industry Services. Now, Dale will be going through a few things, but chiefly the motor industry benchmarks. Now, these have been around for a long time. They used to be kind of done every year, but I think we've seen them done in person for a while in New Zealand. But the feedback we had from AADA was that Dale's session on them in Australia was absolutely standout at the event, and we're really excited to be able to bring him across to New Zealand from Sydney to do those. Other great speakers we've got include Lynn McMorrin from the Financial Services Federation to discuss the issues we had around the Triple CFA. We've got Phil Haynes from who's a consultant, and he will be talking about Clean Car. We're probably putting together a little bit of a panel around that as well. We have James Searle from AutoSure, Amos Banbury from Better and One Partner. We've got Mark Greenfield from Limelight Bioscore, who's going to talk about dealing with reviews and why they're so important, and a few other things. Anthony McLean from Boost Auto. Just so many other people. The details of who we've got so far are listed up on that ticket website, which you can get to at autotalk.co.nz/live. Or there's another direct link that's down in the comments, in the description of this video, if you're wherever you're watching this. So pop over to there and have a look at those full things. The day is structured to allow for a lot of networking. We've got a lot of space and time for that. It's also structured so if you need to duck off and yell at the groomer down the phone, you can still watch the presentations from a secondary area on a big screen. It's just going to be awesome. And of course, we end the day with at least an hour, maybe we'll stretch a little bit longer, of open bar. Yes, we are going to taste test. Someone's calling.
What could possibly go wrong?
Going to taste test some of those delicious Little Creatures beverages and their house wines, and a lesson from events I've been to in the past. spirits. We know dealers like a good spirit, so we've put that on as well. So that's just going to be so cool. This chat to the left or right of me is going to be assisting me kind of co-hosting the event on the day. It's going to be great. We've got great sponsors along too. So AutoHub, Community Financial Services, community.
You need more coffee.
CFS Finance. So I apologize.
CFS Finance.
I apologize to them in detail later. CFS Finance are one of our great supporters as well.
He's just so excited.
I am. We also have Trade Motors who have jumped on board with us. More to come on that. We'll be, again, firing out all the information around who's supporting us. So, the people who support this kind of event, you guys should support them too, because this kind of stuff would be a lot more expensive than it is without that support. How much more expensive? We'll give you some context. Our tickets are $299 plus GST for the day. That includes all your food, all your drink for the day. I've just been involved in a 2-day seminar with a distinctly lower level of food than what we're putting on, and they were wanting something like $1,700 for 2 days. I think AADA, your cheapest day ticket with no food, and that was if you were already spending on a membership, is about $750. So we've really worked our hardest, and in partnership with those sponsors, to keep the price low. And that, I think, means people can bring a little bit more of the team, maybe. We've had one franchise dealer who's bringing along 10 staff because, obviously this is just a really good chance to get that professional development and socialize and enjoy and get together. You'll notice we haven't called this AutoTalk Live 2022. It's AutoTalk Live Catalina Bay. The reason behind that is we're going to do more of these. There's potentially going to be more than one a year. We're looking potentially at 2-day events eventually, and we will get around the country. We might do a bit of a vote on the day, I think, about where people want to go next.
Depends what time of the day you do it, Richard, and what sort of vote you get.
Yeah, well, that's a really good question.
Pre-open bar or post-open bar. Can I just point out a couple of things? First of all, bearing in mind the liquidity of the event, there's excellent public transport links to Catalina Bay. One of the reasons it's there is actually a ferry service that runs directly to downtown, an excellent ferry service. There are bus links and bits and pieces too, whether you want to take the bus or not. But if there's no excuse to not come along, bring the team. If you haven't already got a designated driver, you've actually got a means of getting yourself back into town for a few late ones afterwards if you really want to. But it's a fantastic venue in itself. It's a real highlight of the area. And the other point Richard's just touching on is from a socialization perspective. You think about it, it's been 2.5 years effectively since our trade has had any ability to network properly, to get out amongst others, to hear what's going on the ground, and to be in an environment, what I call a safe environment, where you haven't got so much the public around you. You can actually talk business, you can talk the highs and the lows of your particular business, and in a safe environment, people that understand, that get it, and share some ideas, share the pitfalls, the highs, and hopefully come away with some really good, not just information and intel about what to do next, but an understanding that we're all in this together as a trade, good, bad, and different, and it's great to talk with others as well.
Mm-hmm. No, it's going to be super cool. Matthew will probably be there poking his camera around the place. He doesn't drink, so he'll totally miss out on the little creatures element of it, but...
I've heard a lot of good things about the drink there. I will definitely be eating. I do eat. The food there is great. Been to Little Creatures a bunch of times. Highly recommended, even just for private goings on. But this will be exciting.
Yeah. So just to reiterate, if you want to buy tickets, autotalk.co.nz/live, or we will have ads up on the website as of today. Also, there's more details in AutoTalk magazine, which is out, I believe, at 11 o'clock this morning. We actually held the magazine this month because we were just in the final throes of dialing this in, and we wanted to make sure that it all went out at the same time. So get those tickets soon, because they will sell out. I'll be honest, I have had the option of perhaps putting up some more space if we need it, and I think that might be a possibility. But let's see how we go first. Right, so from one exciting thing to another, less exciting. Well, it's exciting for some people, I'm sure. It's another big week for New Zealand automotive investments over the last week. It's endured a bit of a chaotic week with the news. Listings regulator NZ Regco announced it was investigating the independence of the company's new board members last Friday, forcing NZAI to issue a counter-statement. It was then confirmed that the company's bank would be unable to guarantee future support for NZAI's trade finance and motor finance facilities beyond the current contracted term. David Senna, I guess essentially the remaining founder of the company that's still involved, says, as the largest shareholder, I am uniquely placed to ensure the right people who can develop the strategy and drive change are identified, and I make no apology for that. NZI has underperformed, and this must be remedied for the benefit of the shareholders. I think the issue that they were suggesting was that the two new directors that were coming in, Michael Stiassny and Gordon Shaw, were essentially invited to the board by David. So would they be acting on the interests of their shareholders, or would they be acting on the interests of David? I think they've kind of been saved by the fact that particularly Michael Stiassny has a very, very long reputation of being quite a of competent and almost I'd say aggressive director on companies. Would that be a good word to say?
Yes.
And I think that's kind of saved them there because I think RegCo did have a point. So yeah, but I think it's hard to question Mr. Stiassny and Mr. Shaw's independence. The company has indicated they have enough cash. They're a few million in the bank, I gather. But it's going to be interesting to see how this ticks over. They've pushed the meeting itself back to September. What do you think's going on, Graham?
Well, I think, first of all, a big brickbat to social media, but particularly the news media outlets that screamed a couple of days ago with headlines saying that banks pulling funding from Too Cheap Cars. And I saw this come across and I went, hang on. You had to drill back down and see through the headline to find out what they actually meant was exactly as Richard said. The bank had just indicated that they couldn't guarantee the funding line into the future. But I think as a damaging headline, and we know what our media these days is like in terms of clickbait headlines, particularly on your ticker tape across either your Facebook feed or your social media page when you log into a website through the likes of Edge and others. And I thought it was a particularly damaging headline to be broadcast. I noticed it's not there anymore. So whether somebody from Too Cheap or the board has had a quiet word in the media's ear, but I thought it was a particularly damaging headline that was blatantly untrue. It was misleading and untrue. And I'll be having some questions about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's an interesting one. I mean, I get it, and I maybe disagree with you a little bit on what the form of what the bank said meant. I mean, you could argue to many observers, NZIO is kind of tearing itself apart a little bit at the moment, and some would question the potential for its future. But I guess we'll see what's going on. I just think this has just become too much risk. I think what's proving is that Too Cheap should never have become NZAI. And if I was David Senna, and here's me playing virtual manager for a minute, as I do so often, I'd be talking to your funders about taking the thing back private again. Look, the share price is in the toilet. Your former co-founder, Eugene Williams, has indicated he wants out. Buy this thing out, take it back private. Talk to one of your suppliers in Japan about some cheap Japanese money if you have to. But, if this carries on much longer like it is, it's...
Retrench, rebuild.
It's not going to...
Retrench, rebuild.
Yeah. I think the Too Cheap Cars is disconnected enough from the NZI and the part of the market that reads the business pages that it survived damage up till this point. People just go there because they need a cheap car. It does what it says on the tin. But if this carries on much longer, it's probably just going to cost a lot of money is the problem, and that's where it's going to become an issue. And the banks will get scared if there's a lot of talk about NZI being in turmoil. Then they will get concerned. Get rid of the NZX, and you can just do whatever you want, really.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think there's a total disconnect between the market that's buying those vehicles, like the Too Cheap traditional market base, if you like, and a NZX investor. There's a complete and total disconnect, and you're right. They're not reading these headlines at all. But when it starts to become mainstream media, like I was talking about the clickbait headlines, you might wonder whether people start to think seriously about where they're going to buy the next vehicle from. And I think under the circumstance, that's really unfair.
Mm-hmm. Right. The Triple CFA has caused a marked decline in car loans, according to the government.
Well, what a surprise that is. I bet they commissioned a commission to put a study out to find out through the commission whether there was a drop in car loans, and we paid for it.
Which is hilarious because it's something that is pretty much any dealer could look at their finance book system and tell within a minute.
15 minutes research, there's a couple of $1 million. Thank you.
Let's get on with the news part of it then. An internal government investigation has confirmed what many have long suspected, that the Credit Contracts and Consumer Finance Act, Triple CFA, caused unintended consequences with lenders and consumers. Among these consequences was a marked decline in new vehicle loans from December 2021. And when they say new vehicle loans there, I believe they mean new loans for vehicles, not vehicle loans for new vehicles. The Ministry of Business, Innovation and Employment, MB, investigation was tasked with finding out whether the CCCFA had successfully achieved its desired effect around curbing irresponsible lending and whether it had caused unintended impacts. The answer is no and yes. It found that it was too early to conclude whether the CCCFA had any positive impact, while simultaneously confirming that the scheme had been a key contributor to reduced lending nationwide. There's two aspects to this. The loan sharks that it was targeting at aren't doing things by the paperwork anyway, so that was never going to change. And all they've done is made it harder for first-home buyers again.
Effectively, yeah. And if you're a legitimate trader that's using Tier 1, Tier 2 finance, made it harder for us, obviously. But you're right. The loan sharks, the bucket shop lenders, the Tier 3, Tier 4 payday lenders out there in the motor trade, they're still out there. They might have gone one click below the surface in terms of their visibility, but it changed nothing.
Yeah. It's like it's like trying to legislate guns out of the hands of gangs.
Yeah, that really works too.
How's your triple CFA clean spending going, Matthew? We've touched on that before. Is it still ongoing? You still banned from McDonald's?
Oh, we've completed. We never had a ban, thank you. We had a quite an operation going to make sure McDonald's sustenance could remain. I
a week in cash, didn't you? That's what you do. Just draw $100 out a week in cash, and near the twain shall meet.
I did wonder whether they would see cash coming out of the bank like that on a consistent basis and ask questions. Some of the stories that were going around about what was being picked up were outrageous. People buying stuff at Kmart, and being pulled up. I heard people who were being asked about their petrol bill, and who obviously were just buying petrol, obviously just to go to work. The announcement about this, I don't think it necessarily changes a huge amount. Obviously, we've known for quite some time that this is what the CCCFA has caused. I suspect we'll just see a lot less of David Clark on TV sort of dancing around whether it's been a contributor, because now obviously we know that it is.
Has the government got anybody left to dance? I think we're just as an industry chipping them away one by one and sort of pushing them down below the surface, not to be seen anymore. It's
it's going to be interesting to see who's left after the Labour Party investigates itself for bullying after a week of accusing the National Party of people being bullies.
Perhaps Trevor Mallard should lead that one. Well, not yet. I think he's got some more bullying to do first. He might have to lead the investigation.
I thought he was already on the plane.
No,
after his cushy overseas job.
Not quite. I think there's another couple of weeks to go.
Oh, yeah.
Perhaps anyway.
Yes.
Moving right along.
Yeah. So now, Honda was crowned New Zealand's cleanest car company to July. Honda New Zealand has claimed a unique scout with Waka Kotahi NZ Transport Agency data showing that it has the cleanest fleet out of the country's 18 most popular brands. In data released to Newsroom, Honda came out on top with an average emissions rating of 132 grams per kilometre across its fleet. The win may come as a shock to some, given that Honda does not sell any fully electric vehicles or plug-in hybrids in New Zealand. Instead, the Japanese car makers lineup is bolstered by the recently launched Jazz hybrid and relatively meagre emissions models like the Civic and HR-V. So where does Tesla sit in this? I mean, what? There's an EV-only brand, and it's not. There's something not right here.
But they don't like reporting, Richard. They don't like reporting. We know that.
But they've got to get this reporting's got to be based surely on the Clean Car Standard system.
So I think where the reporting has deliberately kind of skipped that Tesla even exists is by narrowing it down to the top 18 most popular brands. Whenever you see a number like that, you think, well, okay. The other thing that I found interesting about the story...
So wait, are we guessing that Tesla is number 19 in the brand?
That is exactly my guess. The other thing is that they will definitely be in the top 18 this time next month, because we know that there's a huge delivery of them coming out this month, which will probably pump them over the line. The other thing that I thought was really interesting about the story, and credit to Honda, I think it's quite cool that a brand that doesn't have a ute, doesn't have an EV, that's just making low emission cars is up there. Sure, but the story was commissioned by Hyundai, Honda's rival. The story was published by Newsroom as a partner story, backed by Hyundai. which I thought was really interesting. He was second on the list for reference.
Okay.
I'd actually argue that Hyundai being second is a bigger thing than Honda being first, because Honda has a very narrow range of vehicles in the market, and Hyundai has an absolutely massive range of. They kind of, with the exception of a Ute, they hit every target, vans and pretty much in every sector. So I'd say, yeah, it's a bit of an own goal, but at the same time, I think it does show a pretty impressive result for Hyundai. I guess the interesting thing would be if you included all vehicles, because this is 18. This is 18 new brands, but if you took it out to used as well, surely Toyota would have to.
I would have thought, absolutely, yeah. But no one's going to do that. Let's face it, no one's going to meld those two together. Yeah. But you do think about Honda's lineup, and they don't have a Ute in the marketplace. They don't really have much in the way of a big SUV. Their market is predominantly small vehicles, and if you want to say that skews the data, well, good on Honda for it skewing that way. You're actually penalised by having a full range of vehicles to offer, including Utes, including vans, which will skew your data away from being number one. Let's face it, when it comes to the media and these sort of things and how people interpret it, second is being first loser. I'm just saying. Being second is first loser. So
Honda does need a Ute, because I love the look of the Ridgeline. I've actually looked online before about whether I could get away with importing a Ridgeline from America.
Is your hairline going grey yet?
And getting it's a cool vehicle and getting a left-hand drive permit. The problem I found is that pretty much every first-generation Honda Ridgeline in the US that people are willing to sell is riddled with rust.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and importing cars with rust just doesn't work.
All Rust Belt cars,
yeah. So it's I think Honda should definitely in this world of CO2 emissions import the Ridgeline, because surely being car based, A, it's got more chance of electrification, and B, it's going to have lower emissions anyway than a lot of the options.
And let's face it, what New Zealand needs right now is another Ute to enter the market.
Absolutely. Well, we see more coming. We've got BYD suggesting they're going to have a plug-in hybrid Ute. The BLK Auto, who are bringing the JSE trucks, they're going to launch they're saying they're going to launch a new diesel Ute here next year, though I did supply them with some information about Clean Car, which might change their mind. There's still a few more Utes to come. Hyundai's going to have a Ute eventually, but it'll be car-based. Talking about Kia having a Ute now, it's just there's Utes after Utes after Utes after Utes.
I can just think Julianne Genta right now, especially holding her head in her hands going, oh, what did I do?
Well, that was the other thing we saw in the last month. Of course, I'm not sure if we discussed it here, is the pricing of the electric LDV Ute. So I think we're going to start seeing them landing late next month or the month after. Mm-hmm. So that'll be interesting to see how people find those in the real world. They're an interesting vehicle, and hopefully, a few people will pick up those. I get that they've actually had quite a lot of people pick up those, which is probably a problem in itself for them. But it's going to be an interesting one. Right, I think that's about what we've got for today. So just to reiterate, AutoTalk Live, good. Go down the bottom and buy a ticket. If you're one of our lovely supporters and want to jump on board as a sponsor, please do email deborah@automediagroup.co.nz. We will be talking a lot about this in the coming months, because it's going to be awesome. I think we might... I have penciled into the schedule, whether we'll make it or not, to do an AutoTalk live from the event.
We should do that,
because it's a Friday. The event's on a Friday, and we did that because for you guys coming out of town, you can make a weekend of it. I think maybe 10 o'clock on that day, we might have to just pause and take the piss out of things with a good...
What we should do is supply the audience with plastic beer bottles. So we can have a scene out of the Blues Brothers where everyone throws the beer bottles at the audience if they don't love what they're saying. But then when they did play the song they liked, they threw the beer bottles at them as well.
I think it's a plastic...
I was going to suggest Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
But they're also $14 a kilo right now, so I'm not sure the coffers can really handle that.
What if we said they could bring Hot Wheels and throw them at you guys?
Oh, I'd be scooping them in hands. Can I also point out, by the way, that for those of you that are buying cars in the trade in Japan right now, it's Obon Week. I think Obon Week either started today or tomorrow, but it's Obon Week. So if you suddenly see a marked disappearance of your favourite buying agents, don't worry, they're actually probably having a holiday and back into it in a few days' time. But it is Obon Week coming up too, and that traditionally has an effect of either lowering the price of vehicles post when everyone's dumping stock into the market or raising it. And right now it's quids in as to which way it's going to go.
If you're in Japan at the moment for Oban Week, where would you be going on holiday?
I actually really liked Hokkaido. That trip you and I did to Hokkaido a few
Hokkaido's
years ago,
awesome.
that was awesome. Or up into the mountains. Yeah, go up sort of north of Nagoya, up into Gifu, around there to the mountains, maybe.
Yeah. Yep. No. Great. Look, thanks everyone for joining us. We will don't forget like and subscribe, all that kind of stuff, and we will catch you guys next week for another great AutoTalk weekly wrap live stream. We need a better name. Anyway, catch you all later.